Welcome to Major Misconduct, the sports show out of the city of Winnipeg. We're live, Salisbury House on Leela, on a gorgeous February day in beautiful downtown Winnipeg. I'm the Major, Scott Taylor. That's the Misconduct, Curt Keelback. And we have quite a lineup this week. We have a lot of things we want to get to, and I want to start with our own Winnipeg Jets. This show being out of Winnipeg, we should talk about the Jets first. The team's playing incredibly well. They have 65 points. They're tied in terms of points with the Toronto Maple Leafs and with the Florida Panthers, except there's one problem. Florida has 4 games in hand. Toronto has 2 games in hand. Now, there's no guarantee that those teams are going to win all those games, but 1 point should be enough. This is a Winnipeg Jets team heading toward the playoffs that pretty much has to win every game.
Yeah, the Jets are in a situation, they got 20 games left as we're talking now, and they pretty well have to win at least 15 of them, maybe more. Because if you take a look at the situation with Florida, I mean, Florida is the top team. They got 4 games in hand. At the current rate, that's at least 5 points. You can consider that to be 5 points
Even
behind.
though Florida's lost 3 in a row,
yeah,
you have to consider with home games now, Florida's going to get some points.
And as far as the other race is concerned, the battle for the 8th, that might be more winnable because there you're involved with Toronto and with Washington. You have to beat them both to get into the 8th and final.
Well, Washington is not playing very well at all.
No,
they lost
Washington
3 straight
bad.
and 7 of 10.
They Ovechkin is out.
Blown out by Ottawa, just massacred by Ottawa 5-2. They have been absolutely horrible over the last couple of weeks. And Toronto's not played particularly well either.
They don't have goaltending.
That's a team that it's going to have to make a deal at the trade deadline, which, based on today's show, is Monday. They're going to have to make a deal to make that team better.
Yeah, they obviously the strength of the Winnipeg Jets right now is goaltending. I think it's easy to say they got better goaltending than Toronto. They got better goaltending than Washington. So if it comes down to that, they got a good chance of making that final step. Because what we've seen from the monster Gustafsson recently, he hasn't been very good. And Vakoun in Washington, they've been pulling him every night, and they're getting fed up with him.
Well, is there anybody worse than Ilya Bryzgalov? I saw the worst goaltender in the National Hockey League on Tuesday night. An absolutely dreadful performance. Philadelphia continued to win. Philadelphia dominated the Jets, and I think that's something that has to scare Claude Noel just a little bit. Philadelphia throws 55 shots at Ondrej Pavelec. He's the first goalie I remember to give up 5 goals in a game and be the first star. He makes 50 saves, he plays brilliantly, but the rest of the team was eaten alive by the Philadelphia Flyers. And if you look at the National Hockey League right now, you see this Jets team getting great goaltending, and that's keeping them in it. But against teams like Pittsburgh, like Philadelphia now, although the Jets have been able to handle Philadelphia this season, but they haven't outplayed them, they've just had better goaltending. I'm going to ask you 2 questions here. Did the Jets have to improve the trade deadline? And when you go to Philadelphia to become a member of the Philadelphia Flyers, do you suddenly become the worst goaltender in the NHL?
Well, to answer your second question, I don't know what happened with Ilya Bryzgalov because
you knew him from Phoenix.
He came there after I left, but I've still got some pretty good contacts in Phoenix, and I talk to them on a regular basis, and they have said repeatedly that the last 2 years, the only reason the Coyotes had any success at all on the ice was Ilya Bryzgalov. He was the story. He gets traded to Philadelphia, and suddenly, I don't know, his demeanor hasn't changed. He's still loose, he's still humorous, and maybe he's too loose. And that just doesn't work in Phoenix or in Philadelphia. But
remember Dave Kingman?
I keep thinking that he can turn it back around, but he hasn't so far.
Remember the first baseman Dave Kingman?
Yes.
He had an iron glove. He couldn't catch anything. That's what Bryzgalov looked like on the Jets' 4th goal on Tuesday night. He kind of waved at it with his glove, and it floated past him. There are kids playing junior A hockey that we cover. Jason Argue, Matt Cron, Adam Harris, Shea Coop. We cover guys who could have made that save.
Oh, we cover a lot of guys who make that save. In fact, I've talked to you about that before. The thing that has impressed me most about the Manitoba Junior Hockey League in the 2 years we've been doing it has been the goaltending. It is outstanding. As far as your other question is concerned, do the Jets have to make a deal? As long as it's not anything major. They've got to think of this long term. If they make the playoffs, they're going to be in 8th place. They're going to play the first place team. They're probably not going to go. I mean, it's not all about this year in Winnipeg. It's about the longer term. And if you can acquire somebody who's going to help you now and help you in the future, by all means. But none of this deal where you get a guy. I don't think Cheveldayoff and Heisinger would go for anybody that would just kind of push them over the top for now.
Okay, I'm not looking at that happening. But I know Mark Chipman well enough to know that he likes to win. He wants his team to be in the playoffs. He wants, as the owner, playoff hockey in Winnipeg this year. And we hear rumblings from the front office that they don't handle losing very well at all. They don't like to lose. Craig Heisinger has never liked to lose. He's never accepted losing for whatever reason. And while it's easy for fans that have their hockey team back and for us to say, oh, you've got to be patient, I know there is conversation at the top level of the boardroom of the Winnipeg Jets saying, we can make the playoffs, and it's worth making the playoffs. Yeah, okay, maybe we go out in the first round of the New York Rangers. Maybe that happens. But the reality is we want to make the playoffs. We want to give the fans something back for all the support they gave us.
Yeah, obviously everybody wants to make the playoffs, but what I'm saying is you don't give up on an Evander Kane, by example.
No.
To do something like this, you have to make other kind of
They
deals.
have 7 unrestricted free agents.
Yes, they do.
Start moving those guys.
So yeah, if anybody wants them, that's the situation you run into, and you have to have a market. You have to have somebody receptive, and just don't go overboard.
We have taken the Winnipeg Jets apart. We love them dearly, but they are still 4 games in hand against Florida, 2 games in hand against Toronto. While they have 65 points, I guess it depends on whether your glass is half empty or half full.
Yeah.
They're 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 8th, or 9th, depending on your point of view.
It's going to be fun, though. It's going to be fun down to the end.
I believe they need 90 points at least. They've got to get 25 points in their last 20 games.
Yes,
that's what they're
at least 90, probably 92
to have a chance to make the playoffs. It's going to be a great run. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. We wonder where they went, but they do have great coaching. There's lots of coaches there. This team will be coached up. When we come back on Major Misconduct live from the Sal's on Leland.